Hola, welcome back. Welcome back, everyone, to Cornertwist. For those who may be joining back, you already know what's up. For the new viewers out there, this is class of sub 20, where the premise of it is I'm going to be trying to help all of you lovely people reach sub 20 on the Rubik's Cube as quickly as possible. Each video is structured to build off of the previous video, and today's video will be on F2L, where we will fully be moving into the method of CFOP and away from the beginner's method. For those who don't know, which is probably most of you because I haven't really talked about it on this channel yet, CFOP is the method that we're going to be grounding our study in. There's a lot of different methods out there for solving a Rubik's Cube, but one of the most common ones, the one that I use, is called CFOP. CFOP stands for cross, F2L, orientation of the last layer, and permutation of the last layer. You're already acquainted with the cross, which is what we went over in the last video. The F in CFOP is what we're going to be focusing on today, which is F2L, and then the orientation of the last layer and permutation, you're already somewhat familiar with those, and we'll get into that later on. But yeah, today we're going to be, like I said, going over F2L and diving right into that. It's going to be fun. Let's get into it. Begin with talking about why we want to move away from the beginner's method into F2L in the first place. In the beginner's method, once we achieved our cross, such as the one that we have here, we would find one corner piece that has the cross color on it, such as this one. This one has white on it, cross color is white. This is how we know that it's the corner that we're working with. Once we find the white, we also look for the other two colors that are on it, so blue and orange. We see here, this is our orange and blue center caps. So this piece is going to fit right in between all three of these colors. So we have orange, blue, white. That's the same three colors that we have on this one. Then we would use our form move trigger to insert this piece there. And then what would come next is we would find the other piece, the edge piece, that would fit right above it into this same slot. We know that this is the one because it's got blue and orange on it, which is the same two colors here. We would accomplish this by moving the blue over top of the blue, and then after we realized that this needs to come this way into the column, we would then push it this way, and then we would bring this up using the left-sided form move trigger, and then we would simply pair them together and slide it into the back with one more trigger. All this to accomplish what we would call a completed column. So that's the beginner method, but F2L kind of combines both of those steps into one, and it's complicated, but it's very worthwhile learning. Where in the beginner method you had to insert one piece and then another piece, in F2L you can find two pieces at the same time, a corner piece and an edge piece, and pair them together in one of two ways. So you have this way, where you would pair them together like this, and then insert, or you could pair them together like these two, like this, and then you could go ahead and insert them like this. Yeah, it's just much more efficient, and it prepares you for more advanced techniques as well. So those are the big reasons of why we're going to be moving away from the beginner method and into F2L. And so now we have some terminologies to go over, and then we'll actually start doing F2L. Okay, so the first terminologies we're going to go over are the piece types, and we're already familiar with these. The two piece types that we're going to be talking about are, of course, the corners right here, the ones that have three edges on them. And we also have the edge pieces that have the two colors on them like this. A corner piece and an edge piece are what make up a column. Completed columns will occupy the space in between the cross colors that you inputted. For instance, this one, the cross edge piece that's connected to blue corner. What I keep saying, freaking corner. You might see here, the blue cross piece right here is connected to the blue center cap, and the same can be said for the red over here. And the space in between them needs to be occupied by the corner piece and edge piece that corresponds with those two or three same colors. We're going to continue making these completed and inserting them into where they need to go across the cube until all columns are complete like this. That in essence is F2L, and so it's important to know that you have corners and edge pieces that make up good columns. In order to make a good column, you need to take both the corner and the edge pieces that correspond with each other and pair them up like this. This is called a pair, and it's ready to be inserted. So once you have a pair that's ready to be inserted, then you would just insert it. So a good column is only a good column if both of the edge and the corner pieces are within it. So even if you have one edge piece in the right spot, but you don't have the correct corner piece in the right spot, then this is still considered a bad column. It's important to keep that in mind. Also, I'm going to point out that even if you have the right pieces in place, if they're not oriented correctly, this is also a bad column as well. So these pieces go here, but this needs to be, this white needs to be facing down, this green needs to be facing right, and then this red needs to be facing left. So thus, this is a bad column. In order to make pairings, so that way you can actually insert, you have to be utilizing bad columns as well as what I would like to call the U-layer workspace. We need to get comfortable with the idea that we're not going to be moving the D layer so much, which is this bottom layer, or the middle layer by itself, because if you do this, you might notice that all your stuff kind of gets screwed up. So this U layer is a very safe space. This U layer is a very safe space to work in. So these two pieces are paired correctly, but imagine if it was like this. Well, you would need to use the U layer to take this and put it here where it needs to go. And I couldn't do that if this piece is up here still. So I can turn this around all day, but it's not going to accomplish anything. You need to be able to use a bad column such as this one to hide this corner piece and then move this to where it needs to go on the cube and then bring it back up. You see that your cross was messed up momentarily, but then you fixed it, so everything's good. And now you've got a paired, what is going to be good column, like that. That's most of our terminologies out of the way, and now that we know those, we can go ahead and get into the process of solving for F2L. Now there are 9 total steps that go into F2L with each pairing that you do. It sounds like a lot of steps, but we're going to look at them in depth, so let's go ahead and look at those. Step number 1 is going to be identifying the correct corners. And most of the time, whenever I had students in the past, they will ignore this part or forget it. I don't know what happens. It's probably the most important part. You can't forget how to identify good corners. It's very simple. Whenever you have a white cross, such as this one, your corner pieces are going to be the ones that have white on them. Same would be true if you're working with a blue cross. You would look for corners that have the blue color sticker on them. It helps, especially when you're starting out, to just pick one color to start the cross on every time until you have a good grasp of what you're doing. In the future, we will talk about color mutuality, which is a topic, but it's not one that we need to be worried about right now. I recommend just keeping things simple on yourself and picking one cross color to build from every single time until you get to a point where you can move away from that. So again, to reiterate, this is a correct corner that we can look for because it's got what? That's right, the cross color on it. This one over here has yellow on it. This is not what we want. Okay, so once we are done with step 1 and we have identified a corner, we need to make sure that that corner is in the top layer, such as this one. For example, this corner piece has the white on it, but it's in the bottom layer. So unless we have no other ones, such as this one in the top layer, we don't want to be messing with this one. The third criteria is that we want this white sticker to be facing outwards to either the right or to the left. In the beginner method, we could have it pointing upwards, and we can still do that in F2L, but we're going to get to that in later videos. For now, just keep it simple on yourself. You want to learn the basics with F2L first. So yep, you want to have one that's facing to the right or left, such as this one. An example of what you don't want is one like this one, where it's in the top layer, but of course the white sticker is facing upwards. If this is all you've got, you just got to simply know how to turn it into a left or right facing sticker. Okay, criteria number 4, you need to have not only the corner piece in the top layer, but also the corresponding edge piece, such as this one. Again, I want to point out that you know that it's the corresponding edge piece to the corner you're working with because it will have the 2 colors on it that this one has aside from the cross color piece. corners have one more sticker, color sticker on them than the edge pieces do. So you don't have to worry about having the cross color on the edge piece, just the corner piece. But the other two colors are the ones that dictate whether or not they go together. So if the criteria is met so far, you can move on to number 5, which is identifying good or opposite pairings. There's not really a reason I call this pairing good. It just looks good to me because it's flush. But yeah, this is what I call the good pairing, where you have two corresponding pieces that work together that make up this flush kind of little brick right there. There's one more pairing to be aware of, where the top sticker is opposite than the color here. So if I were to try to pair it up just like before, they're kind of swapped or opposite. When this happens, the edge piece, where it normally sits next to the corner piece in the good pairing, needs to be on the opposite side of the cube. So in this case, this is opposite than this color. It needs to go on the opposite side of the cube. So we'll put it there, and that creates the correct pairing for it to go in. Those are the 7 steps, but don't worry, we're going to go back through them one by one again and make sure that we know how to achieve each one of those. Alright, so starting back with step 1, we need to find a corner piece. So how do we find a corner piece? We need to find one that has the cross color on it. So we have this one here, and this one here. So if these two were gone, or they're down here or already done, then we could go with this one. But since we have two that we can already work with in the top layer, then we might as well just choose one of those. So once we have one in the top layer, such as this one, we don't need to worry about step 2 because it's essentially already done. So remember, if this one was like this, we wouldn't want this one. We would want to go with the red that we had. Okay, so we need to make sure that this is not facing upwards. So it isn't. So we're good there. So we can move on to step number 4, which is making sure that our corresponding edge piece is in the top layer. All right, I'm going to start from this position where we have almost a completed F2L stage. But I'm just going to do this to point out all the steps leading up to the pairing here. So right away, we notice that this is a bad column, and it's our last bad column. So we need to identify where our corner piece is, first of all. And where is it? It's right here. How do I know that? Because it has the cross color on it, right here. Once we've identified our corner piece, we need to determine if it's in the top layer, the U layer. And in this case, it is not. It is in the bottom layer. So I'm going to show you how to get it up to the top. So you have a few different options. Option 1, you can be holding it like this, and you need to do R, U, R, which will bring it up like this. And then also holding it from this position, you can do R, U prime, R. And out of the two, the first one was better because we ended up with the white facing up. If you remember step 3, you remember that this needs to be facing sideways. So if we can just go ahead and make it sideways, that's better. Yep, if you're not holding it from this position and you're holding it from this one, you can do L prime, U, L, and that will set it up correctly. You can also be fancy and do an F move like this, move it off to one side or the other, and then bring this back down. So you can get it out like this, that would be fine. If you notice that you're getting it up into the top layer and it comes up like this, you might want to put it back and find a different way to get it out, such as the one before. But let's say that you accidentally got it up into the top layer like this and you're not really sure how to put it back down. What do you do here? Well, you can resort to your beginner method practice of doing this 3 times and putting it down here and then, you know, getting your edge piece and doing the whole thing. But I would recommend that we don't do that. Don't backtrack and just keep learning the correct way to do things. So yeah, if you bring it up here and it's like this, we need to know how to fix this. The way that you fix this is that you would utilize your bad columns. In this case, we only have one more, which is this one here. So we need to first place this on top of a bad column, such as this one. And then we could use that by bringing it up into the top layer, because this has nothing of value in it that we need. We can bring it up in the top layer and we don't really care what happens to it. When we bring it up in the top layer, we can then push this piece that we need out of the way and then fix our cross piece and bring it back down. Remember, always fix your cross pieces when you're doing stuff like this. And then you notice that this one is now facing sideways. The reason that we don't want to put this on top of a good column, such as this one, It's because if we try to fix it now by doing the same thing, we bring this up and then we move this out of the way, we no longer have the good column in here, and then we just wasted time putting in this pair before. Now we have to find it and put it back in again. So instead of that, we're not going to put this on top of a good column. We're going to put this on top of a bad column and make sure that we do things correctly by moving it out of the way and then fixing our own cross piece. You can also mess this up by moving this like this and then going backwards with it. Because now if you put your cross piece back, you're back down the bottom layer and you can just keep going around in circles like this, which is not good. So yeah, you can either go off to either the left or right, whichever side of the cube you're on, or you can do an F move such as this and then move it out of the way and then bring this back. Whichever gets you the result that you're wanting. Okay, so from here we're up to step 5, which is to find our edge piece and make sure that it's in the top layer. So of course we have red and blue as our other colors from the cross color on the corner piece. So we need to find the red and blue on an edge piece, and it just happens to be right underneath it here. So if we identify it and it's in the top layer, that's great, but in this case it's not. It's in the second little S slice here. So we need to fix this. So the way that we fix this is treating it like it is a bad column, which it is. So in bad columns, you are free to take whatever's in the column and bring it up to the top layer because you don't really care what's in it. So there's a good way and a bad way to do this. Whenever you bring this whole column into the top layer, you can get this one out by sliding either to the left or to the right. And the correct way here is to the left. And the reason for that is whenever you bring this down, you have both pieces still in the top layer like this. If you're to try to do this the other way and to bring it up and to bring this right, now you may notice that this is back connected to your cross piece, and when you bring it back down, the corner that you worked so hard to get up in the top layer is now back down here again. Not good. So you want to be careful with how you do this too. We're going to do it the correct way and get it out like that, and then fix your cross piece. Okay, so once we have both of our pieces up in the top layer, we need to recognize how we need to have these pieces in relation to each other to make a good column happen. So first of all, we need to look at how the colors are on top. If we can visualize this, the red needs to go next to the red on the side here, and the blue needs to go next to the blue on the top. The reason this doesn't work is because the white is in the middle of the two reds. You need to have the white over here if you want these pieces to work. But like I just said, this doesn't. So our objective is to move this right here and to have this stay where it is. And there's only one way to accomplish that from this position, and we need to so it's a little bit harder in this case because you have to hide this one first of all with the bad column. It's the only bad column we have. Not this one, not this one, not this one. They're all good columns. Don't touch those. This is the bad column that you want. So you want to make sure that you're bringing up the bad column here and then move this one, this edge piece away like that. So because this is one of those special cases where you have to first move this one away from this piece, sometimes you get that and it's annoying. You have to move this away first, and then you need to reposition yourself so that way you can then hide this piece once again with the bad column. Because remember, our objective is to get this red next to the red and this blue next to the blue. We can accomplish that by hiding this piece using the bad column, by taking this piece right here and U2ing it over here, and then fixing this cross piece and bringing this one up back in the same position. So yes, this is our good pairing, and now comes the fun part, showing you how to pair things. In this good pairing example, there's two ways to insert it. One way, you can rotate and slide this piece over, this brick over, and then you would do this short trigger, which would be R, U prime, R prime, and that would insert. But there may be an easier way for you to remember how to do this, especially from a beginner's perspective. I know it was hard to remember when to do certain things. So the way that I learned is to do the sledgehammer short trigger. It's called sledgehammer. If you can visualize this, this shape kind of resembles a hammer. Just ignore these three little red pieces right here. We're only focusing on this one, this one, this one, this one. So these four colors right here make up what looks to be a sledgehammer shape. With this sledgehammer, we're going to do what sledgehammers like to do and smack whatever's on the ground like that. Remember safety when you're sledgehammering, and make sure that you don't hit the ground too hard because your hammer might break and go flying up. You don't want that to happen. To keep it from flying up, just smack the ground with as little force as possible. So we might go like this, but oh no, our sledgehammer broke anyway. But we smacked the ground with such little force that it fell on the ground. Your little hammerhead fell on the ground instead of flying upwards. That's okay. We're just going to reposition our stick here by putting it up here. And then when we bring this hammerhead back up, we have it sitting nicely in our shed so we can go and weld it back together later. So that's just a funny little way of remembering how to do the sledgehammer. Use it if you want. That's how I used to do it. The actual moves for it go F prime, L, F, L prime. And that inserts this column here. Okay, going back here to this point in time, we're in the same position as we were a moment ago, except now we have a different situation where before we had the blue matching with the blue up here and the red was matching with the red. However, this time, as you can see, this is opposite. And a moment ago, I showed you that this is called the opposite pairing. Whenever you have this opposite pairing, this piece, this edge piece, needs to go on the opposite side of the cube. So the only way that we achieve that is by rotating this piece on the top layer to be right here. But before that, we need to break it away from this corner piece. So again, we find our only bad column, which is right here. We have it on the back, and we hide this corner piece with it. Because again, there's nothing of importance in here. We can move it around. We don't really care where it goes on the top layer. We can bring just about anything else we want into it. It's always going to come out to be a bad column still. So with that in mind, we go ahead and hide our corner, and then we move our edge piece twice until it is where it needs to be. And then we get done. Remember, fix our cross. That brings back up the corner to where it originally was. And now this is the correct way to pair up this pairing. So in the sledgehammer scenario, we had both of the pieces right here. In this case, we have this little red guy right here. Please ignore him. He's connected to the yellow. Remember, yellow is bad until you get to a certain point in CFOP. In F2L, yellows are bad if you're working in white cross. Yeah, this guy, ignore him. We're only focusing on this one. If you can imagine, this one is now right here, like this. Just imagine that. That was what we had when we had our sledgehammer. Right now, we have this opposite pairing, so we no longer have a sledgehammer, but you're still going to take the color that's on the side here and match it up to the centerpiece color, just like you would for the sledgehammer case. So from there, you're going to then do this short trigger if it's on the left side. So you would go L prime, U prime, L. Of course, if this was happening from the right side, you would just do the right version of that, the right side version of that, which would be R, U, R prime, and that would insert as well. If you start fresh, where you just got done with your cross and you're ready to start F2L, you have 4 bad columns to operate out of, so you can be a lot more flexible with how you hide this piece. You can hide it here using this bad column. You can hide it this way using this bad column. You can even put it up on the front and use this bad column, and you don't have to rotate as much to get the pairings that you want. So that is F2L. I know that was a lot, and F2L is very hard. It's a very hard concept. Whenever I was first learning it, it took a while for it to click for me, but it really did click once I did get it. It was like a switch went off. So if you're struggling with it, review this video, even go check out some other people's F2L videos. Maybe they'll explain it in a way that it will help you. F2L is by far the most important thing we've done up to this point. So you need to make sure that you master it before we go ahead in the series. So for the remainder of this video, I'm going to do what I usually do and do a couple example solves to make sure that I really drive home the points that I made, as well as show you what to do in particular weird instances if we can get those. I recommend that you stay for these parts of the video, even if you've got it down, because sometimes I'll throw in little tips here and there that I didn't include within the meat and potatoes of the video, I guess. So unlike how I've done example solves in the past, we're going to actually be using real scrambles for you guys to input if you want to keep along with your own cubes. just to be more official. The correct way to start a scramble is to have green facing you and then have white facing upwards. It's how they do things in competitions. I'm going to have the scramble for you in this area. So go ahead and put that in if you want to follow along. All right, so your cube should look similar to mine. When we're working with our white cross, we want to go ahead and find our white cross pieces. So we've got one here, one here, one here, and one here. So we're going to do things just like the way we did in the previous video. Just going to keep things simple. Go ahead and pair the green up over the green, and then going to slide it down. And then now we can do a 3 mover with this red one that just came up. So normally, like I showed you in the last video, we would move it over top the red just to kind of not confuse ourselves. But really, if you're starting off from this position right here, you can just go ahead and ignore doing that whole thing because it's really just putting it back in the same spot. Go ahead and slide it down to meet, slide it in, and then remember to fix your cross piece on this side. Okay, so next up we have this orange. We're just going to do a wide D to move it over top of there, and then do an F2 to slide it in. And then finally we have our last cross piece, which is right here. We're just going to align it to the side, and I'm actually going to do something I haven't talked about yet. I'm going to use relativity to move this whole D layer over like this, and then slide this blue in, so that way the whole cross is relative to each other now. Just needs to be put back. All the colors matching up with their centerpieces. Whoa, if that blew your mind, don't worry about it. We're going to talk about that in the next episode. But anyway, as soon as we come up with a solved cross, we're ready to now start F2L. So if you remember our criteria, we need to first look for our candidates for our corner pieces that we're going to be working with. So there's going to be 4. There's always 4 of everything. We've got one here, one here, one here, and one here. So for step 1, we remember to find our corner piece, and then that corner piece always has the cross color on it. So this one is candidate, this one's a candidate, this one's a candidate, and this one back here is a candidate. So I want to rule out this one because it is in the D layer, especially since we have 2 that are in the U layer already. The third one here is facing up, and we don't want that, so we're going to pick either this one or this one. I will be choosing this one because this one's edge piece is in the S layer, and that's going to be more work for us to get that out of there. Whereas this one already has its edge piece in the top layer, so we're good to go there. We're going to establish how we want to pair these together. There's only one way to do it, and that depends on if these 2 top colors match. These 2 top colors do not match. We have a blue here and an orange here. Thus, if we try to put this one or visualize this one being here, I guess we can go ahead and do it. If we go ahead and put these here, you can see that these are opposite. So when we have that, we need to utilize one of our many bad columns to hide this piece, like that, and then put this on the opposite side of the cube. So if you're ever in this position, if you just hide this and then do a U2, that will put it in the opposite position. Once you have this, then you know that you need to put this blue, this other side color that isn't white, on its color. So blue here, blue center cap here, good to go. Once you have this and these 2 are still paired the same way that you paired them up before, you just need to insert the non-sledgehammer variation short trigger, which is L prime, U prime, L, and that will insert this. Okay, so we have 1 good column now. We still have 3 bad ones to go. Okay, so for our next column, we need to find another candidate. So we have these 2 we can keep in mind. We're going to look for our third one, and here it is. Out of these 3, we know that we want this one because it's already on the side and it's not looking up. We're going to make the least amount of work on ourselves as possible. So the next criteria, if you remember, is to make sure that we have our edge piece in the top as well, which we do. And not only that, it's also paired correctly to this one. Remember, if your tops match, then you want to have this one side by side with this one, so we can have the red be here next to red, and the blue that would be on this side be next to the blue right here, where it'd be kind of flush and it would look good. but in this case it's opposite. So if it were right here, then it would be good, but since it's opposite, we need to put it on the opposite side of the cube. Thus it is. So it's ready to be inserted. To insert, we just face this side, bring the blue that's on the side to meet the blue, and then we pair them up with R, U, R prime, the non-sledge variation. Remember, the only reason we did the right side version of that is because it's on the right side of the cube. If it was on the left side, such as this one, we would do the left side variation, but it wasn't, so we didn't. Okay, moving right along, we've got this one and this one. We don't want this one, it's facing upwards, so making things easier on ourselves, we're going to stick with this one. And we need to now find its edge piece. We've got green and orange, aside from the white colors, so we need to find the edge piece with green and orange on them. We've got green and orange on this one, so this is the one that we need to be up into the top layer. So this counts as a bad column, so we can just go ahead and move it up like this. And we have a choice. We can either go this way or we can go this way. I want to point out that you want to make sure you know where your corner is. So we have it right here. It's pretty much on the top right of the cube. So I want you to watch when this piece goes up like this and we move it off to one way or the other. Let's go back, bringing it counterclockwise right here. If we bring this back down, you notice that we actually grabbed this corner piece up when we did that whole maneuvering. So watch closely. This is our piece right here. It comes back. It's facing upwards now, so we don't really want that. Instead, we're going to revert our position here. So we're back to square one, where we have the option of going left or right. This time we're going to go clockwise with it. And this time, this is completely out of the range of this whole L slice right here. And now when we bring it back down, it doesn't get affected. So we can go ahead and fix our cross by just putting it down simply. So from here, we have both of our pieces up in the top where we need them to be. And we have the option of using this bad column and this bad column. So we can do one of either. I'm just going to go ahead and bring this over here. And we need to determine whether or not these are going to make a good pairing. And if you remember, green, green, the colors match. So this will be a good pairing if we bring them next to each other. So we need to do that by using a bad column to hide this corner piece. We need to bring this edge piece right here and not over here because it is going to match when we bring this back up like this. So this is what gives us our sledgehammer shape right here. And remember, using my cheesy little method of remembering things, we're going to go smack the ground, but not too hard because we don't want it to fly upwards. The reason that that part is relevant is because it's just how the algorithm works. If we do this and then bring this back, yeah, it just brings our cross piece with us, and that's terrible. We don't want to do all that. So we don't want our hammer to go flying up when it breaks off. So we want to smack the ground lightly to not break our hammer, but oops, it fell off anyway. We need to reset our hammer handle and then stand our hammer head right up next to it and put it in the shed, ready to be restored for future use. Okay, so that's 3 good columns. We have one more to go, so we need to find our corner piece. Our corner piece is right here because it has the white on it, and it is in the top layer, but it's facing upwards, so we need to fix this guy. We fix this by bringing this over top of the bad column, remember? And from here, we just need to push it up one way or the other and move this either this way or this way. Although if you go this way, it's going to bring this back down here. So we'll probably want to go this way. But there's another snag here too, where if you bring this back down now, it brings back down the edge piece that corresponds with this one. So there's a lot of things you have to consider when doing F2L that can make things easier on yourself. It's going to be hard to pay attention to it at first, and you might find yourself having to go and backtrack and do things correctly. But just keep it in your mind to always be on the lookout for things that you can do to make things easier on yourself. So if we just bring this back up here and we kind of reset our position, we're back to how we started. We had the option to go one way or the other. One way didn't work out, which was this way because it brought the corner piece back down. So we went this way. and this way brought the edge piece back down. So how do we fix this one? Well, it's simple. You just turn it one more time. So from here, you just turn it again and then bring your cross piece down. And now you've got a white a white corner piece facing to the right. And your next step, which is having your edge piece up in the top layer, is done too. So from here, you got to determine if it's a good pairing or an opposite pairing. So these two match, it's a good pairing. So you need to hide this corner piece. And I'm going to show you how to not do it. Normally, you would take this corner piece and hide it with the bad column like this, and then take this one and move it here. But what if we left things how they were for a moment? And I'm going to put my mind in the mindset of a new solver. So sometimes I see people do something like this, where they'll say, okay, I need to hide this corner piece and move this one right here. But when they do this, they bring up the bad column, which is correct. But then they put this piece right here because that's where it needs to go theoretically, only to find out that when they bring this back up, this one falls back down here in the back. So the remedy to this is to make sure that you're hiding this corner piece on the right side of the cube. So this one is obviously wrong to hide it back here, because then whenever we bring the edge piece in, it gets caught up in the L layer and it falls back down with it in the S slice. So instead of doing this, we're going to rotate ourselves over here, kind of where we started. And instead of going and hiding it this way, we're going to move it here, and I guess we'll rotate it one more time. And we're going to hide it this way, because now if you notice, you bring it back using the U layer to match them up. This R layer has no way of grabbing this piece. So yeah, very common mistake, and it's something that you want to pay attention to. From here, we have a paired pair. So we're just going to line it up over our red. So this block right here matches our red center cap. And now we are presented again with our hammer shape. So we're going to smack the ground, but not too hard. It's going to lightly fall off once again. Oh, that's a shame. Well, we're just going to stand up our hammer handle and our hammer head and set them aside for later use. So as you can see now, we have a completed F2L stage where we're ready to move on to what would be OLL, which again, we'll talk about in future episodes. Okay, now we're on to example solve number 2. And I'm going to have, once again, the scramble down here for you to follow along with. All right, your scramble should look like mine. All right, so once again, we're going to be making our cross. We have white edge right here, white edge right here, white edge here, and white edge here. So we're looking for our easiest solution. We have this red that's easy enough to go in, just like this. Now we have a blue that's ready to be inserted like this. And from here, we have an orange that's ready to be 3 moved. So we can go ahead and align it over the orange here to make things easier on recognizing where it goes. Misalign it, do our 3 mover. Make sure we put back our cross piece that doesn't exist. Uh-oh. And then once again, we'll rotate and insert this green with a 3 mover. All right, so we're in F2L stage. We have this corner piece, we have this corner piece, we have this corner piece, and then we have one more in the bottom slot down here. So of course, we're going to be paying attention to the ones that are in the top layer already, in the U layer. So this one is pointing upwards. We don't want him, we want this one. And luckily enough, his edge piece is already right here next to him, but this is not a good pairing. So the only thing that we need to do is to hide this corner piece and move this one to the opposite side of the cube. So we can hide this one by using this bad column here, like that, and then moving this to the opposite side of the cube. Now that we bring it back up, this color is already connected to its center cap like this. So then we need to do the right-sided non-sledge algorithm, or trigger, like this. Again, that's RU R prime. Okay, so from here we have another one in the top layer. We have these two down here as well to keep note of, but we don't want them if we have this guy. So he's in the top layer, he's pointing to the right or left, so we're good. We also have the edge piece up here, and he's connected to him this time, which is the annoying one. So this is not going to work since the white is again in between the blue and the blue. We want the white to be on the outside of the whole thing, not in the middle. So to get these two apart, which is the first way, or I mean the first step of solving this pair, we need to hide this piece using any bad column. So this one will work. So we'll hide it there. Then we need to turn the top layer just once. You can go twice too. Just don't go 3 times because then you'll run into that. So we'll just go once. We bring this piece back up, and then now we have both pieces up into the top layer. So we look at it from this side. The pairing will be good because both of the top pieces are red. So we need to now hide this corner piece, hide this piece using a bad column on the right side here. So right side, this is our piece that we need to bring over here, our edge piece. Now we bring it back up, and here is a sledgehammer. So once we have the sledgehammer and all the colors are connected like they should be, we're going to smack the ground, but not too hard because we don't want it to fly up. We want it to barely fall off if it does, and unfortunately it does. We're going to stand up our handle once again and stand up our hammerhead right beside it for future use. I'm done with the sledgehammer stuff. I won't do it anymore, but I hope that it sticks in your head enough to help you remember this stage. Okay, from here we have this corner piece eligible, and we also have this one. This one in the top layer is facing upwards, so we're going to use him, but we're going to have to fix him real quick. So we're going to have him over top of a bad column, which it is, and we're going to slide it up, then we're going to slide it out of the way, and then we're going to fix this cross piece, which will give us this. Alright, so from here we need to find our edge piece that corresponds with it. So we have green and red. So green and red, here it is. We need to get it up into the top layer, which is the next step. So it's a bad column. We can get it up into the top layer, slide it one way or the other. Don't slide it this way because it's going to grab this one back into the L layer and bring it back down. So we want to slide it this way and bring this back down. So we check our 2 colors on the top here. We have green and green, so it's a good pairing. We're going to go ahead and hide this one, this corner piece, using the bad column here, like this. And now we need this one to be here. Haha, just kidding. It's going to go here because it needs to match up. I was just seeing if you were paying attention. Okay, so from here we have the color on the side that isn't white. It needs to match up with its color, so red here. And we're ready to sledgehammer again. So F, R prime, F prime, R, and that will put it in. And then finally we have our last corner piece here. So we just go ahead and put it over top of its bad column since it's facing upwards. And we're going to take it up and then move it out of the way and then bring our cross piece back down. Now we need to find our edge piece associated with it. Luckily, it's already connected to it in a good pairing. So from here, we just go ahead and line it up over top of its blue and input it with the sledgehammer. Remember, whenever you're doing left or right sided anything, since it's the left side, we need to do the left-handed sledgehammer. So we go F prime, L, F, L prime. And that's left-handed sledgehammer. Can't talk. So there you have it, full F2L. If you were able to follow along this video and you have a good grasp of F2L, you've got something to be very proud of. If you didn't get it yet, like I said before, go ahead and check out maybe another video, watch the video again, whatever you need to do to get it down, and it'll be very rewarding. That's all I've got for you in this video. In the next video, we have, yet again, more cross stuff. And this time we're going to be really getting into the nitty-gritty of it. We're going to be getting into some really advanced techniques and things I want to go over with you, so that way your cross solutions will be as efficient as they can be. So get excited for that. I'm excited, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you guys for watching. Bye. What I keep saying.